And we're going to continue our discussion of this second chapter in the Adland book called From Propaganda to Soap. And you'll see what we're talking about with soap here before we reach the end of it. Again, this is a book by Mark Tungate called Adland, and it is available as an ebook through the G Library, and I hope you will look at it and read these chapters as we're going along. I think you'll get a lot more out of it that way. There's a section in here, an onomatopoeic agency, and that's difficult to say. I had to practice it and use my broadcast background to write a phonetic pronunciation of that. Onomatopoeic refers to the many letters in the name of this agency that we're about to talk about. It's not really what onomatopoeia means, but never mind. So read the opening of that particular section in the book, and it'll be more meaningful to you. But BBDO is what that's referring to. Bruce Barton was the co-founder of Barton, Durston, and Osborne. BBDO still very much with us. And Barton wrote a best-selling modern, at that time, biography of Jesus Christ called The Man Nobody Knows. And in doing that, he was not only writing for the purpose of promoting Christianity, but also he was promoting ideas having to do with business. I couldn't find a video on this, but found a good discussion of it on Wikipedia, and there's also a Goodreads summary of the book. And this is still a book that is read today and is still an influential book today. So Bruce Barton, being the founder of BBDO, was influential both in terms of religion but also business. He described Jesus as the ultimate ad man who picked 12 men from the bottom ranks of business as fishermen and transformed them into a world-conquering organization. And he related that to business. Barton advised clients to get in touch with the souls of their companies to think about, what are we really about? What is our real purpose? Why do we exist? And then begin communicating with the public. So understand what you're really all about, you being your own organization, and then you will do a more effective job of communicating with the public. And that was a very influential idea then and really now. There you see the cover of The Man Nobody Knows, and a book about Bruce Barton called The Man Everybody Knew. The 1920s, boom years for advertising. We have already talked a little bit about this. Buying on the installment plan made costly goods available to new consumers. Again, we saw a video that spoke to that. So people had more money to spend, and there were more products for them to buy because of technology and mass production. We saw the growth of the tobacco industry, and advertising benefited from that. And a very interesting story how many women took up smoking. Smoking had been taboo for women. And I'm going to show you a video here about Edward L. Bernays and how he promoted smoking to women in the 1920s.
Cases involved Lucky Strike. For example, one of his early cases involved Lucky Strike cigarettes in the 1920s. The American Tobacco Company asked him to expand sales. Women would be an ideal market, but there were problems. First, women didn't care for the green packaging of Lucky Strikes, and the manufacturer concluded that changing the color was too expensive. Second, it was taboo for women to smoke in public. Bernays took a unique approach to these obstacles. First, he recommended that if the packs must stay green, they should make green the premier color of the fashion season. During his Green Ball campaign, Bernays convinced French designers to incorporate green into their latest fashion lines, and not just any green, but the specific dark green shade of Lucky Strike packaging. He also engineered a green gala at the Waldorf Astoria, featuring some of society's most prominent tastemakers. To address the problem of smoking in public, he linked Lucky Strike cigarettes to the women's liberation movement, arranging for young women to march down Fifth Avenue, smoking and calling the cigarettes torches of freedom. Instead of appearing to sell cigarettes, this seemingly spontaneous march appeared to be a part of the struggle for gender equality. Suddenly, Lucky Strike cigarettes didn't just have packaging that matched the latest Parisian fashions, they also made a statement about women's equality. It's easy to see how these associations could skew market opinion, and the campaign was enormously successful.
So I'll stop it at that point, but Edward L. Bernays, he was the nephew of the psychologist Sigmund Freud, and brought a very, very sophisticated approach, psychological approach, to public relations and advertising. And again, we get into the question and the issue of propaganda and the ethics of it. Understand that at the time it was not as understood as it is today that smoking was something that would potentially cause cancer. So there you see another ad targeted at women for Chesterfield cigarettes. Young and Rubicam. We will discuss one of the most groundbreaking ad agencies, and the Depression came along, a very, very, very bad economic time, not only in this country but around the world, starting at the very end of the 1920s. And Young and Rubicam had already existed, but began to, during the Depression, make even more of an impression. Young and Rubicam was known for hiring oddballs and rebels. And so a little bit different how they approach things. I'm going to show you, first of all, there's a video here of some retired folks with Young and Rubicam, and they talk about some of their experiences, and it's a interesting little video. I'm not going to take time to show that to you. I'm going to look at their Facebook page here and show you a couple of things that they're currently working on, give you a sense of the work that Young and Rubicam do. And we'll slide down the page here. They are working with the U.S. Census Bureau right now. We're about to have the census, and they have created a campaign to promote people responding to the census.
America, we all count. In America, we all count, no matter where we call home, how we worship, or who we love. And the 2020 census is how that great promise is kept. Because this is the count that informs where hundreds of billions in funding will go each year for things like education, healthcare, and programs that touch us all. Shape your future.
I'm sorry that stopped so suddenly. I'm not sure why. I'm going to go back to the Facebook page, but there you were able to see then a campaign that they are doing for the Census Bureau, and then I'll show you one more that they're doing for Quick Stop, which is, of course, the convenience store and service station chain. This features the martial arts and TV star Chuck Norris.
Snackle's just a made-up. Some say Snackle's just a made-up word. Tell that to Chuck Norris.
Look, it's a snack!
It's a meal.
It's a snackle! Thanks, Chuck Norris! This is between me and you, Bear!
Part snack, part meal, 100% Chuck approved.
So very creative campaign there for QT by Young and Rubicam. So while they hired and were known for having oddballs and rebels as their advertising professionals, also Young and Rubicam, and in particular the founder, believed in solid research, ideas based on facts, no more than your competitors. And so one of those early employees was, in fact, George Gallup. And the Gallup Company, he later went on to form the Gallup Company, which is the best-known polling organization in the world. And their website is here. You might want to look at that and learn a little bit more about the Gallup organization, but I'm sure you have heard of them, as the Gallup poll is quoted all the time, and very, very well regarded and respected. And then there's a video also with George Gallup himself, a very short video. I'm not going to show it to you here, but to save some time. But I hope you will look at that. New sights, new sounds. Broadcasting comes in the 1920s in the form of radio, and then television would come later. We had NBC, the first broadcasting network as a radio network in 1926, and then very soon after that, CBS in 1927. Of course, both of those are still with us today as television networks, and they're also online with streaming video and the rest of it. U.S. broadcasting was funded by advertising. There was quite a debate that took place over whether advertising was appropriate for radio and broadcasting. Ultimately, it was agreed that advertising would be permitted. And of course, it is still with us today as the way that radio and television broadcasters create revenue. So the idea of soap operas, for example, soap operas started on radio, and they were sponsored by soap companies or detergent companies, because these were daytime dramas that were primarily targeted at women who were at home. And what were they doing? Well, probably doing some kind of cleaning. So this is the beginning of a soap opera, radio soap opera, called Ma Perkins. Very well known in the 30s and 40s.
With less rinsing work. For a wash that's sparkling clean with less rinsing work, use new deep cleaning Oxidol. With just one rinse, Oxidol is deep cleaning, deep cleaning, deep cleaning. Oxidol's own Ma Perkins. Ladies, here's wonderful wash day news. Today, there's an amazing new Oxidol that brings you everything you ever wanted in laundry suds.
So eventually they will get to the program itself, and as with most soap operas, it's a very dramatic kind of thing having to do with the problems that families encounter. But the program would begin with that commercial for Oxidol, a detergent, and most soap operas also had soap or detergent sponsors, so they came to be called soap operas. And then there's a clip from Jack Armstrong, which is not a soap opera, but what would have been called a cliffhanger, and the sponsor there is Wheaties. So have a listen to that if you like. The end of the beginning, the last part of the chapter. In World War II, advertisers associated themselves very strongly with the U.S. war effort. There you see an ad for Cadillac, and here's one for Texaco. And Cadillac is not promoting its cars, but promoting the fact that they were building tanks for the U.S. Army, and I suppose the Marines during World War II. Texaco buying or promoting the sale of war bonds, which helped to raise money for the U.S. government to keep the war effort going. And so, again, is this propaganda? And if so, is that a worthwhile thing? You think in terms of the U.S. fighting Nazi Germany? And I think we're all glad that the war turned out as it did. So this may be an example of propaganda, but it also might be an example where propaganda is justified and serves a good purpose. Advertising donated an estimated $1 billion to the U.S. war effort. And then television advertising came in the 1940s with television itself. And one advertising executive said, "This is the strongest drug we've ever had to dish out," meaning that television was very, very powerful. And they understood that from the beginning. Here's the very first television ad. This is for Bulova watches. and it actually aired in 1941 during kind of the experimental phase of television.
America runs on Bulliver time.
And that's it. It's just a very few seconds. That's the very first television ad. And here's a video with several 1940s TV commercials, very, very early television commercials. I'll pick out one for Sunbeam Bread here to show you, but you might enjoy watching the others too. And so we see the end of an ad for Gillette razors, and here's the Sunbeam Bread ad.
Everybody needs energy-packed Sunbeam Bread. Yes, it's all aboard for fun in the park, but Junior hasn't got energy enough for fun. He'd sure like to ride that horse. Hey, what's this? An energy-packed Sunbeam sandwich. You bet every delicious slice of Sunbeam Bread sure does pack a big energy wallop. There's nothing like Sunbeam Energy to help you stay on the beam. Now, look at them go. On Sunbeam Energy, they sure do enjoy life. Everybody needs the kind of real zip and zing pep that delicious Sunbeam Bread gives you. Yes, stay on the beam with energy-packed Sunbeam Bread.
All right, so that's Sunbeam, one of the early 1940s TV commercials. So we'll leave it at that for now, and we'll pick up another topic next time, and thanks for watching.